soul.
This is Bass Talk Live. Your host, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pangrak. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Lose, Strike King Lures, Bass Cat Boats, Ducket Fishing, Spro, AFCO, Big Bite Baits, Sunline, and TH Marine. BTL coming at you. Good Thursday, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, wow, we have a ton to talk about this morning.
We had another one of those days, Mark, where you get off air and then news breaks, and then last night more news broke. One more fishing tournament related, one industry related that really drastically affects a lot of tournament anglers and people in the industry.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. All right. The top story, obviously, is the announcement of the Bassmaster Classic going to Fort Worth and Lake Ray Roberts. And look, I said that on yesterday's show. It was pretty easy to identify that being a very viable area to host the Classic and to have the Classic simply by process of elimination. Because, look, man, they're not going to go back to Alabama so quick. Agreed?
Yeah. No, yeah.
They're not going to go to Florida.
Right.
Right? They've been there too many. They're not going to go to New Orleans because it's just...
Well, when was the last time they had a Florida Classic? It's been a while.
They're not... Dude,
But they go there every single year for 2 or 3 events.
All right. They've already done a big city in Texas.
Conroe.
And Conroe. So
Houston.
I really, really thought because of the limited areas from a weather standpoint that you have to go to, Oklahoma's about as north as you can go.
I agree.
All right.
Now, they are doing it middle of March 19th through 21st, so it is a later Classic.
It's still a little dicey. All right. But Fort Worth and the climate... that's funny.
I had this talk with Dave. Folks, I had this talk with Dave Rush, who's been with us, and Mark Jeffries on his. I mean, if there's a chance that the water could get rough, Jeffries is going to say, it's going to be an ocean out there. I said, watch this, Dave. I said, it's the middle of March where it's central Texas where the weather's going to be good. I said, Jeffries is going to pull up like the freak Fort Worth snowstorm of 1908 that happened March 19th through 21st and say, they're rolling the dice here, folks. 111 years ago, the biggest snowstorm to ever hit Texas this week.
No, dude.
And you walked right into the trap first thing in the morning. It's a little dicey, Matt. I don't know about that. Weather could be a little dicey.
No, that's not where I was going with that. All right, here's where I was going. Fort Worth is a really, really good fit. You know what it is? It's a very, very big town with a small town feel. All right, does that make sense? In other words,
100%.
It's totally different than Dallas.
Have you done the stockyards down there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I went down there for a barrel race. We actually stayed there. We went to the stockyard. She raided the arena. Incredibly historic, small town feel, close to everything big. You said they've got a new arena.
Brand new Dickies Arena.
Lake is apparently fairly reasonable driving distance. It's got to be closer than it has been the last 3 Classics.
Yeah. Obviously closer than Texoma. So you had just a limited number of places. The other place that was number 2 on my list was San Antonio. And that didn't happen. So obviously the Sports Commission in Fort Worth putting up the cash to bring the Bassmaster Classic to the Fort Worth area. And I can't wait. I'm really, really curious from a fan perspective, from a business perspective, on how well received this Classic is going to be at Lake Ray Roberts and at the new Dickies Arena and the entire downtown complex of Fort Worth. Fort Worth, very, very cool town. Very cool town.
I like it. It'll be a battle between the Carhartt sponsored classic in the Dickies Arena.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of weird, and I never thought about that. Yeah, that's
and then
Battle of the Clothing.
Not a whole lot of history on Ray Roberts, but it was, I believe, a May tournament that Matt Herron won. The TTBC back when, before it was associated with anything, it was actually part of it might have been independent by then, but the PAA, where they take the top 15 PAA, the top 15 in the FLW Tour, the top 15 in the Elite Series, they put them together for a music festival. Yeah. They've done Lake Fork, they've done Conroe and that, and they get huge crowds at it. Well, they went to Ray Roberts, and they think they had some logistical issues as far as how to get to like where the concerts and stuff were, and bad weather and flooding, but it was not well attended. But no. Matt Herron, he had a 3-day total of like 51 pounds. But I was kind of perusing. I talked to some people. I actually got on the message boards to see what they're saying on the Texas Fishing Forum, because a lot of people fish around there, and some of the anglers that I talked to, and it's going to be a hit or miss deal. It's
I agree.
Got the potential for giant bags. It is a Texas lake. It is managed by Texas Parks and Wildlife, so they're there. But it's not an everybody's going to have 20 pounds type of tournament that time of the year.
Yeah. So
I'm looking forward to it. It's a change.
It's cool.
Great. I like the time of the year. It seems like if they can, I'll be interested to see what kind of interest it generates.
Yeah, absolutely. We will see. All right. The other big news story to come down yesterday was BRP, the parent company of Evinrude, and if you go way back, Johnson, they're done. They're not making motors anymore, dude. Done. Finished.
I mean, it came out last night. It just the title was BRP discontinues Evinrude outboard engines and signs agreement with Mercury Marine. That was on the Ken Dukes Fishing Tackle Retailer. It's everywhere now.
Yeah.
You got it off the wire.
Yeah, they issued a press release, and it's going to impact a lot of guys. It's going to impact the industry, but it will be interesting to see, based upon the agreement that they have made with Mercury, how that is going to affect the guys that are sponsored by Evinrude.
So, let me get this right. Every Evinrude that is on the back of a bass boat right now is no longer being made.
That is correct.
Now, they are still in the game. It says they're working on this Project Ghost and Project M, which is something to do with pontoon boats. But if there's an Evinrude on the back, there's no new ones coming out like that. Now, it says that they're going to honor the 10-year warranty. It says they're still going to do parts and all that for it and have that available.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see that coming?
No.
I don't think anyone did.
No. I know they had some challenges, but here's the deal from a business side of it, Matthew. When something like this happens in any other industry, I always like to see what the market reaction is. BRP, publicly traded company on the NASDAQ. And typically when you have a big announcement like this, you will obviously have a reaction by the market, either up or down. Well, as the market opened this morning, their stock is down abruptly almost 9%. And it kind of was on a little bit of a rally since the COVID-19 situation. It was sub $20 per share. And this morning, it's currently right at $34 a share, but it's down almost $3.20 from where it opened up at. So very, very light traded stock, though. It's not heavily traded this morning, less than 60,000.
BRP, right?
BRP.
Okay.
All right.
And they do a bunch of other stuff besides outboard motors.
Their symbol is kind of funny. It's DOO, as in Sea-Doo. DOOO.
And as of now, they're still making all those, right?
Yeah. At least that's what the press release said.
So that's the business side. In your opinion, how does it affect anglers? We're talking, the big ones off the top: Jacob Wheeler, Wesley Strader, Scott Martin, Andy Morgan, I believe.
That's the question.
David Walker, Clark Wendlandt.
Does
Fritz.
Mercury absorb those guys?
So then they would become Mercury guys?
Yeah.
You got Denny down there at Lake Amistad.
I know.
You got a bunch of guys who have been, and it seems to me like the Evinrude guys have been with Evinrude for a very long time. A lot of them.
Yeah. It was funny. Dave in South Carolina, not our Dave, said he had his Evinrude in for service yesterday, and they told me they had no clue when they could get his part in because of an issue in Wisconsin. Well, now we all know what that issue is.
So they're shutting down some plant. I read that, and I don't want to get it. Know which one.
No,
they're shutting down, sort of consolidating plants, and they're doing some.
They're reducing cost.
Yeah,
I mean that's the bottom line.
Like over 600 guys.
They that was a plant that was in, I believe it was Arkadelphia, Arkansas. It was the, what was that? Alumacraft? Is that right? Yeah, Alumacraft plant.
So here's the question, and it's a micro.
All right, here's a great.
It's a micro level problem.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it affects guys drastically. Is service crew guys now, and I've talked to some anglers across all platforms and all motors with different cost cutting, and some people have been furloughed at all of them. Is at these tournaments now. I mean, I would assume, is Evinrude going to be there for the remaining 3 tour events?
I would say no.
For the BPT events?
Why would they be?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But we don't know that. That is an assumption. When you shut things down, dude, you shut it down.
I don't know. I mean, those things look. I feel like that's not a motor you could just pop the top off of it and roll up your sleeves and get to work on it. That sucker looks pretty complex underneath there.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
and we will.
Cody Meyer.
We will investigate this even more, and hopefully next week we'll have one of these guys on the show to see what their response is and how they are reacting to the news. If I was a betting guy, which I am, I would say that a lot of these guys didn't even know what was going on.
No. Yeah, I would agree.
Because usually corporations will keep this stuff really, really quiet. All right. Now, Jared in Texas brings up a great point. Do you see a company like Suzuki trying to make a push for some of these guys? What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, you've got some big name guys there. I mean, you look at the guys who are running Evinrudes right now, and I'd say the majority of them are used to not just getting a discount, not just getting a motor, but getting paid to run that motor. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
So, and I talked to an Elite Series Pro about this yesterday, about how the market just got a lot smaller because you are having motor deals that are already getting cut back with Mercury and Yamaha and things just over the past couple years, and kind of streamlining their pro staffs and who's getting what. And now you've got an influx of top level pros who are used to getting paid for it, and it'll be very interesting to see where and how these guys land. His thought was, well, a lot more guys are going to have to start paying for a motor.
Yeah,
that was his thought. He said he didn't think that other motor companies would scoop him up and say, hey, here's $100,000 and we can't believe that you're hanging a motor on the back of it now. But yes, we've seen what Suzuki has done, stepping up 4 years ago with Dean Rojas, Chad Pipkins, Cliff Perch, a number of top level anglers in that.
Maybe.
So
they're huge in the saltwater market. And I know I just posted that, but I knew that prior to posting that when we were
Suzukis.
Yeah, when we were in Charleston, South Carolina, we went out with a guide, and I think I've talked about that trip. And in talking with the guide there, every single boat that you saw had a Suzuki on it. The white Suzuki.
Suzukis are big in the saltwater market and in the 25 horsepower market. Because apparently you can trick a Suzuki out in all these hot water lakes that have 25 horsepower limits, and they get 50, 60. This is a Central Illinois thing. You go fish a Central Illinois tournament on Coffeen, on Sandcrest. Everybody has tricked out old Suzukis. They get like 3 extra miles per hour out of these Suzukis. It's crazy. Everyone's got an aluminum with a Suzuki on the back of it.
That's funny. Bryce in Illinois says, what about Honda?
Yeah, who's running a Honda? Is Jesse Wiggins still running a Honda? Paul Elias running a Honda?
Yeah.
We'll see. It seems to me like Suzuki has been more successful in their push into the high-end bass fishing market.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
With their SS?
100%. I don't know, man. Challenging times ahead of us, not just from an outboard standpoint, but I think the term, you mentioned it, pay to play, that is going to become the norm, except for an elite number of guys out there.
Well, these are an elite number of guys. Listen, I mean, these are elite guys.
No,
Larry
Nixon,
I'm not Scott Martin.
I'm not talking
Andy
about
Morgan,
the Evinrude guys, dude.
Clark Wendlandt.
I'm talking about the structure as a professional angler as a whole. I think the number of guys out there that are going to get deals in all aspects, be it boat, be it motor, be it accessories, be it tackle. I think the pay-to-play term is going to have a new meaning come 2021.
Now think about this. When do people usually get new boats, Mark?
Spring.
And this was announced the end of May.
Yeah.
So there are more than a few guys out there with a new E-Tech, the G2, all that, hanging off the back of a 2020 rig that now have 10 years, a 10-year warranty, 500 hours, this whole thing. Now, so they're supposedly going to honor that, but they got a motor that's not in production. They don't know what they're going to do now.
Dude, I had a little tear run down my cheek here just for a minute when I first heard this news because, I had a clunker, my very first bass boat. I mean, it was a tracker, one of the old trackers with a 90 horse on the back.
Yeah. Did you wrap that thing?
No. It was a
purple and yellow?
A 17-foot tracker with a 90 horse Mariner on it. All right. It was a used boat. I think I paid like $3,500 for it. Very first one. Anyway, my first, what I would call big time purchase for a bass boat had a Fast Strike 150 on it. You remember that?
Upgraded.
The Javelin. The Javelin with the Fast Strike 150. And that was back when the horsepower limitation was 150. Dude, I was it.
Is Johnson fall under this too? Like the white?
Yeah, they don't even do Johnson anymore.
Yeah.
Or didn't.
That was my first bass boat that I bought.
That's what the Fast Strike 150 was, man.
81 Ranger or a 79 Ranger with the white Johnson on it. And then the Evinrude was so we would go to Canada every single year for a week, right? With the tiller steer on this 18-foot Lund.
Yeah.
And they had a number of different motors. And my dad always got the Evinrude because he liked the Evinrude the best.
You like the Rude, huh?
We were out there on Lake Kashabawi. If you're up in Trout Bay.
What a great name for a lake.
Yeah.
What is that again?
You're up on Lake Kashabawi. You got to go through the Narrows, then you go through Skunk, then you go through Lower Beaver, you go through Lily, you get up to Trout. We would do Trout 2 or 3, Trout Bay 2 or 3 of the days, but I mean it was a 45-minute haul in the 25-horse Evinrude tiller steer.
Nice.
And that's the one that he banked on to get us to Trout Bay and back for a week every 4th of July week on Lake Kashabawi.
Yeah. Yeah, very nice. All right, a couple other things. By the way, we're going to have Scott Canterbury on to talk a little bit about Lake Eufaula and the remainder of the Elite Series and many, many other things, including the perils of the roller coaster ride of professional fishing. You know where I'm going with that? Any idea?
The perils. Is it a double meaning here?
No. What does a roller coaster do, dude?
Up and down.
All right. Did he not have a great year last year?
Yeah, he won Angler of the Year.
Exactly. What happened at the Bassmaster Classic?
Not great.
Not so good. Not so good. So, from an accomplished standpoint, probably the most epic thing that you can do is win Angler of the Year. All right? But from an event standpoint, it would have to be the Bassmaster Classic.
I agree.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
So, he's on a total high, and then a lot of expectations for the Bassmaster Classic, and what happened? He struggled.
Yeah, but he finished 6th in the first event on the St. Johns River.
Dude, I'm just comparing the two things that people compare all the time. What's more important, Angler of the Year or a Bassmaster Classic title?
Yeah, 50-50 there on what the guys will say. But I don't know. I don't think the guys take I don't think I think the guys take a classic tank a lot easier.
That's because they're trying to win.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's what I want to talk to him about.
Like it's really easy to get over a classic
but you
tank,
have to think that he was enormously disappointed by his performance.
He had a hometown advantage. A lot of people thought he was going to be in it to win it at the end.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, let me do this real quick because Dave in South Carolina threw this up there. Look, if you're having some issues with specific episodes not showing up on iTunes, what you need to do is you need to make sure that your iTunes app or your Apple Podcast app is up to date, right? If it's not up to date, you're going to have some episodes that are going to be missing. So you can either update your app, or the easiest way to do it, right? And don't be afraid, just delete the app and re-add it, and all of the shows will show up then, including not just BTL, any other podcasts that you have. So that's an Apple thing that has nothing to do with us. I've received several emails and responses where, oh, thanks, Mark. Yeah, that did it. Thank you. So with that situation being out there, just delete it, re-add it. All the episodes will be there.
We got to ask Canterbury about this now, because we've had this conversation before right after the Classic where you said, what happened to Canterbury? Finished 42nd. But here's what you have to remember. Hank Cherry's 29-3 on day one.
Yeah.
Completely did a 180 in a lot of guys' game
Great point,
plans.
man.
Because Canterbury, take this into account. Canterbury was 24th after the first day.
Yeah.
Middle of the pack or 40th for a guy who's fishing on Guntersville in a Classic does not matter to him.
Yeah.
So I will be interested to see. So he had 14 pounds on day one.
Yeah.
He was less than 4 pounds out of the top 10.
Yeah.
But 29-3. That, I think, changed a lot, because then you go to day two, right?
Yeah.
And Canterbury came in with 0.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about.
I think he came in with 0 because Hank Cherry had 29-2 on day one.
You might have a great point.
I think you're sitting there
Matthew.
going, hey, he had a solid Classic. He had, whatever. He made it. He was in the top 5 at the end of it. But that's the Classic case of, who cares if he comes in with 20? 20's not going to do him any good. He's still going to be 15 pounds behind.
He's going to make him a little more money.
He doesn't care about that. He just won the $100,000.
It's all about the win.
7 for 8 checks, and
all about the win.
That's what I'm saying. I think
we'll talk about that.
I think his Classic performance was a direct result of
what somebody else did.
The Browns Creek riprap.
All right, we'll find out about that. Real quick, a couple of housekeeping items. Yesterday, we had a young fella that is being groomed to take my job, and we didn't know what his name was. If you missed yesterday's show, go back, just watch the very beginning. We had a video that was sent in by a fan of his 4-year-old son, of which we didn't know what his name was. His name is Lucas. All right, I got a response from his dad. His dad, Chris Self, sent it in, and I got a response, and he was enormously thankful for letting Lucas introduce Wednesday's show.
The best part of it, we go, good Wednesday, everybody.
And it was Wednesday, too.
Yeah.
So many thanks to Chris and Lucas for putting that together. The other thing is, and I did not get the picture ready in time. I was busy doing something else, and I didn't have time. But a fan, Steven, sent me an email, Matthew, of a vintage long-sleeve Bass Zone t-shirt. Do you remember that? It had the big, huge block letters on the back.
It's all about being there?
It's all about being there.
I actually just wore one the other day to go to paint a fence in.
So
I use those shirts, my surplus of Tackle Warehouse shirts that you get. You click on it, and I'm like, what do I do with these 19 heather-colored Tackle Warehouse shirts?
Yeah. I think his last name, and I apologize if I don't pronounce it correctly. I think it's Avacan is his last name.
What
First
did you
name
send
Steve.
it at? Was it did you send it to him a long time ago or something?
I don't know where he got it from.
Man, the vintage stuff is coming back with Glenn Cunningham wearing the jersey.
I don't know where he got it from. Let's see here.
I'm telling you, man, apparel.
Yeah. Let's see here.
We go round and round.
I guess we sold it. I don't know where we sold it at, but he said, do you remember selling these back in the day?
What'd you sell them out of the back of your The back of your
man.
Chevy Avalanche?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Remember that truck?
The Avalanche?
God, that thing was hideous.
Yeah.
It was a canary yellow and blue Avalanche, and he had rims on it, and he would drive that thing around
It was not my choice. That's what the dealer wanted, and I will never have a wrap vehicle or a wrap boat again.
And it was a
Ever.
wrapped Avalanche
Ever.
with the wrap boat and the jersey fishing
Ever.
the Central Pro-Ams.
Never in my lifetime will I ever have a wrap vehicle or a wrap boat
You were your
again.
own worst nightmare.
Yeah. Not going to happen anymore. The next thing, real quick, I will have an address on Monday. Right? When we do the show on Monday, I've actually made arrangements to get an address where if you do want to ship stuff to us, you're going to be available to do that now. All right? Instead of shipping it to my home. So I got that arranged, and
No,
I will.
you're paranoid about that.
Do what?
You're paranoid about that.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean,
Someone's
you want me to
Jewish.
give out your address? Would you not be a little paranoid about that?
No.
You want me to give it out? Hey, if you want to send anything to Matt directly,
All my stuff goes to Brock's. Never there.
I don't think Brock would appreciate that.
No.
So Monday we will have an address to where if there is anything that you would like to ship, that now we will be able to do that. Last but not least, Matt is actually working on a little project, and we'll see if we get this done. I know he's going to work very hard on it.
I am?
Yeah, the merchandise.
Oh.
The merch. I got more requests yesterday. People are wanting hats. People are wanting shirts. That
Jeffrey's not a big fan of getting into the merchandise game for the
just from a business side.
your goes into. Let's see if I can talk Jeffrey's here. Your goes into's did not justify your goes outas or what you get in return. Like your margin, you feel like the margin is not enough, and you've messed with it before.
Yeah.
I believe I have the solution to that. Now, are we gonna, if we do it, are we gonna come out with a massive selection of stuff from a store? No, we're talking a t-shirt, a hoodie, and a hat, and maybe once every 6 months, a limited run specialty item. Maybe an AFCO sun shirt or something like that with BTL.
Yeah, you know what would be cool? If there's a fan out there that wants to put together a design for a shirt, yeah, we'll take a look at it, won't we?
I've got it. I think maybe once you come out with something like Jeffrey, like a Mark Jeffries quote, it says like "Just catch 'em," or "The business of bassin'."
Huh.
And then I've got one that says like "Anglers first," perhaps something along those. And then just a straight Richardson 112 snapback BT. None of this angled stuff, just BTL.
Yeah.
Right there. Just
Yeah.
basic clear.
Crisp
We're
and
done
clean.
with like the massive sleeve gaudy logos.
Yeah.
Small, classy,
Yeah.
impactful statement. I don't know
Yeah.
if people would
Hey,
buy
if
that.
anybody out there wants to put together a t-shirt design and send it to us,
And we use it.
Yeah, we're
give
all
you
about
one.
it.
We'll give you one. I mean, it's not like the Big Bite Baits where you get 500 if you pick the
No.
color. Now, this is not an
Well,
official contest.
no, we'll give you a few. We'll take care of you. All right, just send it to mark@basszone.com. All right, we're going to
Oh,
take
we already
a break.
have a request.
What's that?
The old school pullover windbreaker. You know that Robert DeGraffenried wears? It
Oh,
says
and Glenn's got one
the
too.
collegiate. It just says Bassone and collegiate block lettering.
No,
and
it's tack twill.
tack twill.
Yeah. Yeah.
In like a semicircle.
Yeah.
Already have a request for one of those windbreakers.
Those are pricey, man.
Yeah, that would probably be down the line a little bit.
All right, we'll see. All right, we're going to take a break. Come back with Scott Canterbury here on a Thursday, closing out the week. Everybody stay tuned.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance HDS Live. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, live sight transducer, or Structure Scan 3D, and get up to $500 cash back.
Yeah, you care about gear ratios, inches per turn, and ball bearings, but most importantly, you want reliability and dependability in the equipment you use. Luz doesn't cut corners when it comes to the gear they build. The new Speed Spool LFS is the best $99 reel in the market. Go see for yourself.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Kevin, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm just filling in for Billy.
I need a 660 shad crankbaits in the Series 5 model.
We're out.
You're not out. You got all kinds of them right there.
We're out.
Kevin, I need 6.
Have a lollipop.
I do not want a lollipop.
Have a lollipop.
Do you have it in sexy shad color?
At Duckett Fishing, we have assembled the top pros in the country to help us design rods to give you a competitive advantage. Castability, strength, durability, action, sensitivity, weight and balance, and consistency. Combine that with the best warranty in the industry, and you have rods that are pro-driven.
Duckett Fishing, pro-driven.
You've been waiting all week for this, and Sunline wants to make sure you're ready for it with bulk spools of all your favorite fishing lines.
That's so fun.
Bulk up with Sunline.
All right, we are back on a Thursday, closing out our Elite Series week with a very special guest, the man that was Angler of the Year last year, and looking forward to talking to him. Also, an Alabama angler. We're going to talk a little bit about Lake Eufaula and get into the discussion that Matt and I had prior to having Scott on, and I will be very interested in hearing what he has to say, Matthew.
So as a Sooner grad, you're okay with Bassmaster using Longhorns?
Dude, it's Texas. Fixture? What do you expect? Like I said, what do you want them to put on there? A New Jersey dairy cow?
No, but you could put a horse, like a horse next to the
What
Longhorn.
do you identify Texas with? Longhorns, not horses.
Average seasons. I mean, put a horse up there. Possibly, I'd even go with the cowboy. Maybe a wagon.
There's nothing wrong.
A wagon,
dude,
with a Longhorn.
I'm an OU grad. There is nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong. That is what Texas is all about. Is the Dude, we have Longhorns all over the place here in Oklahoma.
They are actually pretty cool. You ever driven by and you see them like they're pretty majestic. Yeah, could you imagine trying to walk around like that?
Hey, there is a dude in Blanchard on my way to go to school. He has a buffalo ranch and a Longhorn ranch.
Do you know that Longhorns have built-in social distancing?
You're so observant. That is useless information right there. All right, let's bring in our special guest. Scott, you there, man?
I'm here. I appreciate y'all doing good.
Yeah, doing good, man. Thanks for taking time out. And we're going to get into a lot of stuff, but right off the bat, obviously, what's your take on the Classic being at Ray Roberts and in Fort Worth, Texas?
You know, I'm excited. Got a long season to get there, but hopefully I'll get to fish it. I've never been to Ray Roberts, so excited about that. I love fishing venues with no history, that I have no history on. I get to where I think I fish just a lot better. Last year, we had 5 tournaments last year in the season on places that I had never been to, and ended up being my 5 best tournaments. So I had rather go to places that I don't have a lot of history, and you don't try to go back and fish any of that history.
All right. Well, let's get into this discussion right now. I brought up at the beginning of the show, obviously, just an unbelievable year last year on the Elite Series, Angler of the Year. And then you were one of the favorites at the Bassmaster Classic this year. And I'm going back to the fact that you guys have only fished a maximum of 5 days so far. Now, at the Classic, all right, after the Classic, you've had a tremendous amount of time to think about what went down at the Classic. Matt made the point that he thinks that your performance was basically dictated after what happened on day one with Hank Cherry. What are your thoughts?
You know, I mean, I got in a hole that first day. I didn't catch them. I mean, I wasn't on a whole lot during practice in that tournament. I did catch a few big fish during practice, and after digging a hole, I mean, I did a lot of gambling. I ran all over the lake the second day and just covered way too much water, never did settle down. And it was a weird situation. I don't know. I mean, I spent 2 of the practice days. One day I probably spent 3 hours on that causeway that Hank won on. I never threw a jerk bait. And then another day I hit it for another 40 minutes or so. I mean, it gets fished a lot. Everybody knows it. And I knew a lot of sweet spots on it, but I never got a bite there. You know, like I said, you know, he really showed out that week, and he had an awesome week. And, you know, congrats to Hank. It was a great week, great tournament, and, you know, he'll be a good champion.
All right, hang on, Matt. That goes right down the path that Matt was going down prior to the show, but I want to ask you this. You've had so much time to think about it, and I talk about the roller coaster ride of being a professional angler. Did that bother you at all, or was that something that you were just like, all right, I did what I did. That's what happened. I'm ready. I'm moving on down the road. I'm not even thinking about it.
Oh, it stung a little bit now. Don't get me wrong, but it's the Classic. It's one that you know, had we been fishing for points, I would have fished it different than I did. So, you know, you want to win, or, you know, I mean, everybody gets 10 grand. I got 10 grand even if you finish last in that tournament. So it's something that, you know, the first one I've ever been to, and it was a great experience. I can't wait till the next one. And, you know, I'm ready to get the season back going. I got off to a great start this year in the regular season. So, you know, I got to get it going again. And, you know, I fish a little bit different. Like I said, I'm not one of these guys that's out there to try to hero or zero, but in the Classic, that's what you got to do, is you got to try to go for the win, and you just fish a little bit different. But no, I had a poor performance there and don't have an excuse for it. I live an hour and a half from it, and probably had more time on the water than anybody, but it didn't pay off, and I'm ready to get the season going.
All right. Matthew?
No, I was right.
I said you were right.
Move on with your life. Now, as a competitive angler on that, you obviously had massively high expectations going into it, whether you're going to say it to the media or not. I mean, in your head with your accomplishments, you knew going into that practice, man, I really want to win this. Go back to I want to compare that to the 14 Cup that you lost by an ounce, where you kind of came into it and your expectations on that. I mean, is it harder to get over it when it's close, or is a championship event, and if you don't win, you gave it your best shot and you move on?
Yeah, it's a little harder to get over when it's really close like that. It stings like it did in 14, but, you know, I was really hoping that we would have really clear water, clean water at Gonnersville, and I could find a school or two offshore, and that's what I tried to do a lot. If I could have found a school or two offshore, like deep, and maybe could have milked a little bit more out of it out deep, I think you had a lot better chance to win than trying to cover water with a rattle trap and stuff like that. It's hard to win on Gonnersville like that on the bank or shallow. And I spent a lot of time trying to find that offshore school, and it just wasn't happening. Nobody got on it very much. And you know, I didn't make it happen. And I was ready to move on. I mean, it didn't bother me. I didn't have a good practice at all, like I said. And I spent, and, you know, if situation or circumstances would have been different, maybe it would have set up a little different, but it didn't. And, you know, I'm excited about the finishing this season. I love fishing. You know, it's going to be a little bit different. We get to fish in the fall, And that's one of my favorite times of the year to fish. So I'm excited to see how it all rolls out.
All right. What can you tell us about Eufaula? What are your thoughts on that event this time of the year? What can we expect?
I've kept up with it a lot. The water's a little bit, it's about a half a foot higher than it has been the last few years right now. It's been really high most of the year and dirty. I fish Eufaula a lot over the years. And, the shallow fishing has been, I imagine the shallow fishing has been really good with the water being higher. When they lowered that lake level years ago, it changed that fishery, and it became, the local guys have a brush pile. It's a brush pile fishery now. It's an offshore fishery. I know a lot of the, everybody that goes down there, you can idle for 4 hours and find more brush piles than you can fish. So I do have some history there, but I'm ready to go down there and fish. Hopefully there's a good bit of fish still shallow. And I'm sure there will be. There's always some shallow, but it's going to be beat up a little bit. The Toyota Series is there the week before us.
Yeah.
They've been having a lot of local tournaments. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what stage the fish are in. If they're really in transition and moving really good, maybe it'll set up where those brush piles are the deal. Maybe it set up where the ledges are the deal. We're just in a weird weather system too. We've been getting a lot of rain. We haven't had real hot weather. I know that our fish around here, Gunnersville, Lay Lake, the Coosa River, the fish haven't really moved out yet, and they should be out there, and they're not. They haven't made that big push yet because we've only had one day this year where it's reached 90 degrees, and that was it. So looking forward to some hot, dry weather, maybe for 8 or 10 days leading up to the event, and maybe it'll get those fish really moving, and you could catch them coming to you, and they wouldn't be those fish that are beat up and trying to recycle fish that people's already been beating on for a week or two.
It sounds like, based on all the factors that you just mentioned, 100 pounds is out of the question in this one.
100 pounds is out of the question?
Yeah, or is it still in play? I mean, it's got the fish in there to do 25 a day.
It's got the fish in there, but this time of year, I think it's out of play. Had we went when we were scheduled, I think it would have been a 100-pound tournament. But
wow.
Postponed, I think it's out of play. There'll be some numbers, catching grouped up numbers, and you might see a 27-pound bag or so. But I don't think it'll happen 4 days in a row for sure. I think it's going to be more in that mid 80s, catch 20 a day, 22 a day, you're going to be right there.
Will guys spread out on that lake?
Mid 80s is going to be where you're going to be looking to do it this time.
Guys spread out on that lake, or is it going to be shoulder to shoulder?
If there's still a lot of fish shallow, it'll spread out really good. If not, we'll be grouped up pretty tight. It could be a situation if you get in a bad routine or a bad schedule there.
Rotation.
I mean, you get behind somebody, it wouldn't work out so well. But there's tons of fish. It's a big area. There's tons of brush piles. There's ledges that the fish get on. And like I said, I mean, I fished down there several times over the years this time of year and able to catch a big bag shallow. So, I mean, you can always scramble around and catch a few. So it'll be an exciting event. Hopefully it'll be, like you said, the weights will be really good. And we can, I don't think 100 pounds, I don't see 100 pounds being the deal, but definitely that mid to upper 80s could possibly, be the deal to win that tournament.
All right, Scott, tell me if you agree or disagree with this statement and why. From the guys that I've spoken with about the Eufaula event and what you're saying, it sounds like it's going to take, we mentioned it, 80 pounds to win, but it's going to be a grind. In other words, you're going to have to grind out 4 days and average over 20 pounds a day, probably to win this thing, but it's not going to be easy. What are your thoughts about that?
Definitely. I mean, I haven't won many tournaments in my life, but none of them have ever been real easy. So, it's not going to be one where you can just go out and catch. I mean, somebody will be on a school and go out and catch 22, 24 pounds the first day pretty easy. But to repeat that every day, it's going to be definitely a grind. You're going to have to move around. You're going to have a whole lot of stuff. And like I said, the person who wins may end up weighing in, a percentage of his fish up shallow, maybe around brim beds, maybe some fish on a frog around some brim beds, maybe there's a lot of boat docks on that. Like could be a few fish off of docks or brush piles around docks. So it's exciting going into it, not knowing exactly what's going to happen. We get 3 days of practice, and hopefully we'll figure out the deal of what you need to be doing.
Yeah. All right. What about
Chickamauga?
Yeah.
October. That's going to be definitely a grind.
You're not the first person to say that, man.
October's not a prime time to be there. It'll be fun. The weights will be down. I think you can go back and look at maybe some BFL 2-day super tournaments they had there, and you catch 15 to 18 pounds a day, you're right there. So it'll definitely be a grind at Chickamauga in October. Santee Cooper will be tough in October. I have no idea what Lake Fork will be like in November. I know that New York swing, it's going to be a lot of fun with a lot of fish caught, a lot of big fish. So, we got a good season, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. And I hope, I know the fans are as ready as we are to get us going again. Everybody in the South is super excited about us starting the season back up anyhow and getting this thing rolling. Something to keep up with.
Have you spent a lot of time on the water during the break?
I have. I fished. My wife said I fished more than I do when we're on the tour. I've been fishing probably, I know for the first 4 or 5 weeks, I fished 4 or 5 days a week, every week. And we've had a lot of, small tournaments around. It's just hard to do it with the social distancing, but no really big events. I got a tournament this weekend I'm fishing, but I've spent a lot of time out on the water, and I think it really helps you stay sharp. I like trying to fish tournaments. It don't matter if it's just a little tournament, because it makes me try to make those adjustments during the day and try to keep making good decisions. It's not about just capitalizing and catching a fish when you get a bite. It's about making those decisions on the water is how you do come out on top in this sport.
All right, let's do this. We're going to take a break and come back with Scott with some questions from the instant feedback from the fans. So, Scott, hold tight. We'll be back in a few minutes,
sure,
man.
Sounds
all right,
good.
We'll be right back.
Let's face it, fishing electronics are no longer an afterthought. They've become a necessity. And at the Bass Tank, our experts match you with the right electronics, provide professional installation, and educate you to help maximize your catching results while providing support along the way. Because let's be honest, it's about catching, not just fishing. And when you're ready for better results, join the Bass Tank team. Visit us today on Facebook or go to thebasstank.com.
Blue Water by TH Marine. Offering LED lighting solutions for your boat, trailer, truck, ATV, and so much more. Engineered and built to be rugged with waterproof and submersible options. Designed for easy installation, Blue Water is available in a variety of colors and styles. All backed by a limited lifetime warranty. Blue Water by TH Marine.
The name SPRO says it all. SPRO stands for Sports Professionals. When you look at the pro staff that SPRO has brought on board over the past 15 years, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, one got it just then. From the development of the rock crawler to the McStick, from the Fat Papa to the Little John series, when you tie a SPRO bait on, you know it's been designed by a professional to get the job done.
As a professional angler, you've got so many things on your mind. Any advantage that we have is key. And not only rods and reels and lines and baits, but in our clothes. And the guys at AFCO, they have something for every situation. There's nothing AFCO hasn't thought about with the fishermen in mind. It's designed for fishermen, by fishermen, for every scenario you can come to. Any fish, any water, any condition. Africa has you covered. All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks.
Why?
Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
The Big Bite Baits Kamikaze Swim On is a very unique bait, and it's got a full body, but with ribs to give it a bigger profile, but not more plastic. It's got a jointed tail that gives it a lot of action, as well as this up and down crawl type trail with holes and ribs in it, so it creates a bubble trail almost. This bait is supposed to be fished upside down or vertical like this on a grate for a chatterbait. I prefer it on a swim jig as well, but you can also cut it down and put it on the back of a finesse jig. You know, flip it around for some spotted bass or flipping docks. Anytime you want a small, compact, you know, little trailer for it, this is great for it. So check out the full lineup of swim-ons at bigbitebaits.com.
All right, we are back, wrapping up the week here on a Thursday with our special guest, Scott Canterbury. And it is time to go to the instant feedback for some of the questions from the fans. So if you want to give Scott a question, just throw it up on the instant feedback and we will try to get to it. The first question from Jim in Indiana, kind of an interesting one for the Eufaula event. Do you think it's going to be 50 spots with maybe 10 minutes at each of these spots?
Not quite that many, I don't think. You know, some guys may try to do that, hitting, 50 brush piles, because you can pull up on a brush pile there. I mean, I've seen when the fish are biting, you pull up and your bait doesn't hit the bottom. If you're throwing a bottom bite like a jig or something, your bait won't even hit the bottom and you'll get a bite. So you catch one or two and go on to the next one. You could definitely do that, but there's a lot of different areas where there's, you can milk it out. If it's a big point that has 3 or 4 brush piles on it or something, it may have, you'll be able to catch 7 or 8 fish there. So, but I definitely think it's going to be, you're going to have a lot of stuff and maybe save some of it for the 3rd or 4th day.
Yeah.
If you can get there. I don't think you can just rotate the same spots every day, 4 days in a row, and make it happen.
You've done well running and gunning, and you've done well milking 2 or 3 spots in the past. If you had your preference, would you rather be a homebody or a pattern runner?
Pattern runner. I'd much rather run and gun, cover as much water as I can, power fish, and just keep moving, fishing fresh water all day. Fishing what looks good a lot of times. Not just fishing something that I laid out the night before. I'm going to hit this till 9, I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to go here at 8. I'd rather just have a pattern and run exactly what the pattern is and what looks good and keep hitting fresh water all day. Especially, it really works good with the Elite Series only having, 85 to 87 anglers too. It seems like it works better the less anglers are on the water because you're hitting a lot of fresh water.
All right, Drew in Texas wants to know what your favorite signature jig color is and what's the setup for it.
We've done a lot of jigs, and my favorite color is Canterbury Crawl. It's just got a mixture in it where you can fish it in clear water, you can fish it in dirty water. The black and blues that we done was the Payday and stuff. They're all good, but being on the Coosa River and growing up fishing around Alabama, I always stuck to the browns and the green pumpkins more, and I like that. I fish, if people ask me all the time, what if you had one lure, what would it be? It'd be a jig for sure. But it would either be a 1/2 or a 5/8 ounce Canterbury flipping jig. And it's a weird situation. I've been with Dirty Jigs for about 15 years. And Matt Herron, big flipper, 5/8 jig. his go-to. West Logan, 5/8 jig, his go-to. Mine, 5/8 jig is my go-to. I like lighter ones, but when I know what the fish are doing, a 5/8 allows me to upsize my line and cover more water. Upsize my line, I can go to a 25-pound line and keep the same rate of fall I can on a 1/2 ounce jig with 20-pound line, and you don't have to worry about losing fish or anything with that bigger line. So, I like a 5/8 ounce, 7.6, 7.5 flipping stick, and a 25-pound P-line fluorocarbon, cover as much water as I can, and just like you said, pattern fishing.
That's meaty. It's a lot of beef in that setup right there, right? Denny Brower smiling somewhere, going, "My man, Scott Canterbury."
I mean, that's my favorite way to fish.
All right, let's see here. Jeff in Indiana, he wants to know 5, but I'm gonna give him 3. He goes, "What are 3 key baits going to be at the Eufaula event?"
Definitely. 2 of them would be a big worm, probably a 10-inch, 11-inch worm. I'll be throwing an 11-inch C-Mac from Netbait, Red Bug probably. A big crankbait, whether it's a 6XD or a 10XD, definitely will be a factor in the win. And, man, probably, depending on watercolor, I'm going to give you 4 of them. If the waters are still a little stained, it's going to be a football jig. And if not, the swim bait's going to come into play down there. They love a swim bait, and it'll come into play if the water's cleaned up a little bit.
All right, there you have it. Let's see here. Rich in Connecticut wants to know how much you're looking forward to the New York swing.
I'm excited about it. I was really worried about it last year, never going up there. But this year we go to Champlain. I fished it several times over the years. With FLW, it seemed like we win every other year. And I haven't been there in a few years, but I'm excited about that. And in St. Lawrence, just knowing how good of a fishery it is and a chance to catch a 6-7 pound smallmouth. I mean, world-class fishery. The people up there are unbelievable. The fan support is, probably the best that we have. So I'm super excited about getting up north. Cayuga ended up having a good tournament there too last year. So, I'm really excited. The fishing up north is phenomenal in the summertime when you have to grind it out down in the south and do work super hard, and it's 110 degrees every day. So I love going up there each and every year and can't wait to get up there this year.
All right, very nice. Alex in Alabama wants to know, can you throw him a bone and give him a couple of lures that would be good in late June on Guntersville?
Late June in Guntersville. I think we were there late June last year, the Elite Series. It was sometime in June, but the fish are just now moving out at Guntersville. It's a little weird. It's a little bit late. Like I said, we've had so much rain and haven't had that hot weather. If you can find a school and get them going, a 6XD big crankbait's going to be a player. But a big worm on the bottom is always a deal, and they love a swim bait. And those fish get so much pressure that you can always, if you can graph enough, watch your lorets, watch your electronics, and cover a lot of water and find some fish, you can always catch them on a drop shot and a shaky head, things like that. And when you get them going, if you'll take a football jig, Alex, and sort of stroke it, not just drag it on the bottom, but stroke it up and let it fall, stroke it up and let it fall, you'll trigger some of those bigger fish to bite too. So get them going with a drop shot, big shaky head, and then change over to some bigger baits.
You've mentioned that big worm a couple times now. What the heck do they think that is down there? Why do they eat an 11-inch ribbon tail worm?
I guess there's big worms down there, but they eat. A bass is, they eat just about anything that's alive. They won't eat anything dead. So anything that's got action, and when it seems to when the water gets, upper 80s, 90 degrees, the jig bite sort of dies off a little bit in that hot weather, and a big worm comes into play a lot more. I don't know if they, I'm sure there's not a snake swimming down there 20 foot deep, but I don't know exactly why, but that's a good question, but they definitely eat it in the summertime. A big worm has always been a player in the summertime, and hopefully I like throwing it, like catching them on it. So I hope it's a big player at Eufaula.
All right. I'm just curious. I got to ask, have you ever drop shot a 10-inch worm?
I have never drop shotted a 10-inch worm. I drop shot like big 6-inch salt licks or big 6-inch Cinco, stick worms and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's about as big a worm as I've ever, drop shotted. It's usually more of a, the robo worms and the trick worm, the net bait T-Max, stuff as a trick worm style.
Mm-hmm.
But I have went up in bulk, by going to the Cinco style baits.
Have you ever thrown those, like, I know that like the Upton's Customs and those like 13, 14, 15-inch worms? Man's had some of those old crazy giant, I know. I mean, you ever gone into that realm?
I have thrown them. I don't have a whole throw them anymore. I mean, I can't remember the name of them, but at Mark's Outdoors, they used to come in a tube. I mean, we would have a plastic tube, and it would be, they had an 18-inch and a 24-inch worm. And people bought them and threw them at gunners when caught fish on them. I bought it. I threw an 18-inch, the biggest worm I've ever thrown. And I mean, I didn't like it. I mean, it's just too much bait to be throwing out. But I do like, 11 to 12, a 12-inch worm a lot. I mean, I've caught a lot of fish back in the day when I was with net pure fishing. The 12-inch power worms, and that was a big player. But now. Net bait's got the T-Mac is 11-inch, and then they have a 15-inch big ribbon tail worm, but it's a lot smaller profile, smaller body than some of the big bulky worms.
Scott on the YouTube comment says, dude, there's eels in there, that he's seen eels in those lakes. He thinks they think they're eels.
Eels, okay. Yeah, I have caught a lot of bass that'll have an eel on it and stuff like that, so, I mean, it makes sense.
Interesting. All right, Holmes in Alabama wants to know if you can talk about the decision-making that you made on the final day at Winyah Bay and how those key decisions helped you win the AOI title.
I mean, that's what it boils down to throughout the year. We've got 87 guys with the ability to win it, but whoever can make the right decisions and make the right adjustments during the tournament is the ones that's going to come out on top each event, not throughout the year. I mean, and that'll help you in the end of the year. For sure. Winyah Bay was a situation, let's say, I went into that tournament telling them I didn't want a hero zero. My plan was to go all the way, make a long run the first day. I was going to bed fish. If things went really good, I could catch 16 or 17 pounds. If they didn't, I thought I could catch 12 bed fishing. Not many people were up looking, and I had several marked. I went over there and caught 12 pounds, and I was in the top 10. I wasn't even going to go back. I was going to stay close and catch, 9 pounds the second day, get a check, and go on. But when you're that close, you got to go back. So the second day I go back, and I find out that me and Patrick Walters and Chris Johnson was running a lot of the same pockets. The first day I just had a good schedule. I wasn't around anybody. Second day, ended up running into everybody. So I only caught like 7 or 8 pounds, and I fell all the way out of the top. I mean, I was in like 27th place. And then I knew the only place I could come back was to go back over there, but I had to find some fresh water. So I made a long run. I went past where everybody was fishing further up the river and just started fishing different backwaters further up the river. And I had caught a few fish, but it wasn't my deal. But I ended up catching 17 pounds the third day. And then the last day, I went all the way to the dam up at Santee Cooper Dam that last day.
Wow.
I was just running a lot further than anybody else was, trying to hit fresh water. What we were talking about a little while ago, I want to try to fish water that hasn't been beat up, especially when I want to swim a jig or throw a buzz bait and I'm not slowing down to try to finesse a fish. My sinuses are all messed up. But I was trying to cover a lot of water and fish for those fish that was active and just pick up what I could, put swim jig and a buzz bait in my hand, which catches big fish. And it just worked out. I mean, day 5, I caught a couple of really big ones on that buzzbait, and that close to coming back and winning it. But seems like I'm the king at coming in as the bridesmaid. I never can pull it off hardly, but I enjoyed it, and if I could finish second every time, I guess I would take it.
Hey, man, you got one of the trophies that everybody's trying to get, man. Yeah.
That's right.
That had to be the biggest run you've ever made. I mean, it's like hard to make a longer run. I mean, you're like across a bay, in a river, up below a dam, like all sorts of crazy stuff on that run.
It is. I ran, I actually won a Costa event. There's a trophy somewhere up there on top of the thing. I won a Costa event, which is a Toyota series now, at Eufaula years ago, and I was making a run. I left Eufaula. It's 45 miles down to the dam. I locked through. It's 30 miles to the next dam. I locked through, and I left Alabama, went through Florida, turned up the Flint River on Seminole, and ran all the way up the Flint into Georgia and won that tournament. So that was a super long run too.
Wow.
But yeah, you got to be able to trust your equipment and make runs if you think you're going to do it. And it's paid off for me gambling in the past. So I mean, I don't mind doing it.
I would assume 3 locks away is off limits in the Elite Series?
I don't even think that they operate the lock anymore at Eufaula for recreational boats.
Okay.
I think I don't think they use that lock anymore at all.
Wow.
Interesting. All right, back to the big worm. Drew in Texas wants to know, Texas rigged or Carolina rigged?
Texas rig. I should throw a Carolina rig more. I don't know why. I absolutely hate throwing it because and I should throw it more because it gets you bites. Last year, I tied one on out at 10 killer, or I wouldn't have won Angler of the Year for sure. There was a lot of situations last year that I did things out of my norm, and I caught several fish on a Carolina rig at 10 killer last year, or I would not have won it. But if I don't ever tie one on again, that would be okay with me.
All right. Let's see here. Brian from Lake Norman has a really good question. From a COVID-19 standpoint, is Bass instructed you guys to follow specific instructions? Are you guys getting your temperature tested? I mean, is there a protocol in place for you guys at this first tournament?
We are to keep social distancing, and as far as I know, we're not getting our temperature taken or anything. But I'm sure everybody needs to do the right thing and be smart. If you're sick or you feel sick, you need to let them know. I mean, it's a situation that we've never had before, but I don't know that they'll go into all that or anything. Now, we are using marshals. And they left it up to us. If you didn't want a marshal or didn't feel safe with a marshal, to let them know, and you didn't have to have one, you could go alone. They're taking precautions, but we are trying to get back to some sort of normality and resume a normal season is what we're trying to do.
All right, very nice. Rich wants to know, and I don't know if you could talk about this, the place that you and Matt went hunting after your Angler of the Year win.
We're going this year. We've got it booked. We're going to Whitetail Heaven Outfitters. We're going to Kentucky to hunt, and everybody's excited about it. Matt's got one of his good friends going. I've got a couple of my buddies going. We're going to have a good trip. We're going the first week of September, bow hunting in Kentucky for velvet bucks. I mean, it's supposed to be like I don't think any of us have ever shot a buck in velvet. I know in Alabama we don't even have an opportunity to. I know Matt killed 1 or 2 in velvet, but nothing really big. He's got some nice deer, but I think this is going to be like a 130-inch at minimum. So I'm excited about it. I love bow hunting and looking forward to the opportunity. And, the season, we don't have a tournament in September. So it was sort of, we were all worried that we were going to get booked a tournament on top of it, but we're getting to go. And Tevis McCauley at Whitetail Heaven is going to hook us up, and we're going to have a good trip.
All right, very cool, man. A lot of the guys are kind of freaking out because it's cramping into their hunting season, all these tournaments, man.
It is. I mean, we've tried that. I love fishing in the fall. It's old school fishing. You don't go around in the fall with your electronics and find several schools, and you have to fish during practice to find them is the thing you got to do in the fall and cover a lot of water. It's junk fishing. You catch 2 or 3 on top water. You catch some cranking, shot square bill. Then you'll catch some on a jig or something later in the day. So I love fall fishing. And, we tried it with FLW, had a series one time, fished some, but the guys that hunted, it didn't go for points. So all the guys that hunted a lot didn't even show up to fish them and didn't have to fish them. But, this is how you make a living now that it counts as your points. Everybody's going to be there, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be good for the fans. It's going to be something that hasn't happened in a long time in professional fishing. It's something to keep up with in the fall.
All right, very cool. My last question. Matt, you have anything else before I ask?
No, I'm surprised he didn't go off on his dislike of Carolina rigs. I mean, the only reason you caught one on Ted Killer was Jeffrey spent 20 years conditioning him to the Carolina rig there.
Come on, man. Jeez, that's not
Well,
true.
I'm glad he did. Yeah. No, I mean, it's not that I don't like it. I don't know why I don't like it that much. I had a co-angler that traveled with me, Maurice Cobb with FLW. He was a really good friend of mine, and that's the only bait he throws. It don't matter where we go. And he had me tied on at Kentucky Lake because he just gets so many bites behind me. He's had me tied on wherever we go throughout the country. In the back of the boat, he'll just be dragging it so slow that he gets bites. I fish so fast a lot of times that I fish through them and don't even get a bite. But I don't know. I don't like to slow down that much and drag the ball and chain or whatever you want to call it. It's not my deal, but I do. I mean, I know how to rig it, and I don't mind throwing it because I know that it gets bites.
I think every rod I've ever snapped on a hook set had a Carolina rig tied on it within the previous month before that. It's about all it's good for is fracturing the fiberglass as it runs down the lake because you're never using it. It's always there. It always just sitting out there, just do banging up, and then you just go to drill one, boom, explosion. You're like, that. I had a Carolina rig tied on that. There you go.
Come on. All right, last question. When you think of Texas, do you think of longhorns or do you think of horses?
Man, when I think of Texas, think of longhorns and big bass. I mean, I love going to Texas. I don't think too much of football. Texas A&M's out there, but I don't like Texas Longhorns football. I'm more of a try to keep it in the SEC.
All right. No horses, Matthew. Sorry, dude. You're way off base on that. All right, Scott, man, can't thank you enough for taking time out. And wishing nothing but the best on this swing. It's going to be great to see you guys finally back in action and really looking forward to the New York swing, but more importantly, looking to some fall fishing and see what you guys can do in totally different conditions, man.
It's going to be exciting. I'm ready to get the season going, and I know the fans are, and hey, guys, I appreciate the time. Thanks for inviting me on today. I'm always available anytime you need somebody to fill in. I'm there.
All right, man. Good luck to you. Thanks, Scott.
See ya.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it, guys.
All right. See ya. All right, there you have it, Scott Canterbury. And really good take on his whole classic performance. You were dead on, man.
Mm-hmm.
Dead on. And that is the one characteristic about that event, that your actions are affected by other situations than what you are doing.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up to see if it's true or not, but I've always thought one of the guys who truly heroes or zeros in classics, Skeet has had some, he's finished 43rd, 52nd, 49th, 39th.
Yeah.
And he's won one. I mean, he's got a first, a second, a couple eights, but I mean, he's one of those guys I always remembered at the Classic that would go out and do what he thought he needed to do to win at all times, no matter what.
Yeah.
Now, there's different trains of thought on that. You'll talk to guys that are like, well, almost to overuse terminology, you can't win it on the first day, but you can lose it, which no longer applies after what Hank Cherry did. But, there's two different theories. Let's establish control. Let's have 3 great days and win this thing, or let's stay in it the first day, kind of feel it out on what it is. Let's not get carried away and knock ourselves out of this thing right off the hopper.
Yeah.
And then assess where it is the second day. And if I'm fishing on the third day within 10 pounds, I'm one of 10 guys in the world who has a chance to win it.
Yeah.
And then there's the other ones that are, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing for 3 days. I'm not going to scramble around and just stay in it or catch a 20-pound bag. But I know if it fires on this, I'll catch a 20-pound bag. And they'll do it all 3 days.
Here, I'm not going to say who this is, but there's a post on the instant feedback that I'm not going to post. But I will say this. It is an angler. And it's in relation to the question that was asked. And I kind of asked it a little different from Brian from Lake Norman about the whole COVID situation.
Right.
All right. This post to me says, I have not received anything from Bass about the protocol for contactless registration, self-distancing with co-anglers, and the weigh-in. I was getting ready to inquire. Hate to be a sissy, but I have concerns.
Now, I know that Bass has sent me online forms, like anything that you need to fill out at a meeting or anything, like your W-9 and all that stuff is all being done digitally.
Yeah.
So in order to compete, you have to send it all in digitally. And it says, here it says it, with implementing changes to our registration and briefing process, we will be process that we'll be implementing to comply with the CDC guidelines. It's mandatory that you attach these forms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's for fishing the Central Open coming up in a couple weeks. So I would be shocked if they didn't have something that they're putting also, sure, it's still a couple weeks away. Who knows what stage you're going to be in, what's going to be going on. So as it gets closer, I would assume that they would have a plan of action as to where, what, meetings, weigh-ins, how that's all going to work.
Is it too much? And I know we're trying to get back to normality. I mean, I understand that. But is it too much that when you do have the weigh-in, that obviously, or not the weigh-in, but the check-in, that if you're not going to have a check-in, registration, whatever you want to call it, where you have to make sure, yes, I'm here, that you're 6 feet apart, and everybody gets their temperature checked.
I have no idea, man.
At
this point, I don't know.
Or is that a tad bit of over protection or being overcautious? Or
it just depends on your
view
and outlook at this point.
I know bowling tournaments. There's bowling tournaments that are taking place right now, not from a professional level, but some of the tournament organizations are requiring that you get your temperature checked.
I'll tell you what, we did the weigh-ins at the ABAs where like you wait and they had a limited number of bags. You don't go up on stage. The same guy weighs in the basket. Dude, I was out of there in like 5 minutes. It was glorious. It was amazing. It was fantastic. I suggested that they do it like that every tournament.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do if somebody walks in there or they walk up to the weigh-in and they're hacking out a lung?
Oh, is that an ELO deal?
I don't know.
Who's in charge of that?
I don't know.
Who's there?
Folks, once again, I understand we want to get back to normality, but in certain situations, this is obviously still a concern. Is that a wrong statement?
It's not just this fishing. They're going through that with every single thing
I
that's
agree.
coming back. Like, how do you...
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they're even giving the option for marshals.
But think about where everybody's coming from. That's where I think the big concern is. It's not like Norman, Oklahoma, that only has, 3 people deceased of COVID-19 in the history of this stuff that's been going on.
And have we heard anything about the international anglers?
I don't know.
And how are they going?
Yeah.
How is that going to work?
Yeah.
I would expect, as this approaches, Bass will come out with their action plan, public talk to the international anglers, because you've got Japan, you've got Canada.
Quite obvious. I mean, look, this is a very, very smart business. Speaking of Bass, when it comes to putting on tournaments and putting on events, they're going to take every precaution to do what is necessary to protect their employees, protect the staff, protect the sponsors, protect everybody.
Yeah. I mean, why not just send everybody out, guesstimate what your best 5 was, and text it to Tripp?
Huh. 400 people, 40 states, 7 countries. In a tournament. In one of the opens. It's a lot of people from a lot of places.
It's a lot of countries.
Yeah. So I don't know. It is a quandary. And
Man,
it's going to be...
suck.
What's
40
that?
states at 7 countries have to go fish the Arkansas River. Well, all the places they could go. And they do it like every year.
Yeah.
And it always sucks.
Yeah. So I feel very confident that Bass and the great staff that they have, they're going to do what is right to protect the people in all aspects.
I mean, we're going
to
to see it beforehand of a bigger tournament with more anglers and more co-anglers and everything in this Toyota coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that happens. Because that happens, next week?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be the first event big event since this whole thing is really went down. I know there's been obviously smaller events. But anyway, all right. The final instant feedback question, Matthew, is not fishing related. Bryce in Illinois wants to know, off topic, but what are your thoughts on a 2014 format for the NHL when they come back or try to come back? Have you been following this
about that? They're going to basically come back to the playoffs.
Yeah.
With 24 teams instead of 18.
In like 2 or 3 or 4 different locations, and that's it. And then the teams, I think there's 31 teams. Is that right? 31, 32?
Yeah.
The rest of the teams would get top round draft picks.
Would it be
for not making the playoffs?
Truncated best of 7? Like, would they do best of 5? Because if it's best of 7s, that's 2.5 months. Like 2 months solid if you make it to the finals and play a long series. That's a long time to be playing in the same arena in front of no fans.
Yeah.
And then you have to wonder, they don't get paid during the playoffs. NHL players never have. It's what makes them, it's glorious.
Yeah, part of the contract.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. And baseball's an absolute mess right now. I don't know if you've been following that. You've got these guys that are making $36 million a year. The owners have come back and said, all right, look, we're going to pay you $6.5 million. What? Wait a minute. You still want to be paid $36 million and you haven't taken it bat the entire season? Are you crazy? Hey, we're still going to pay you $6.5 million. And the players are going, nah, that's not going to work. Sorry.
It is. That's a great point. It was pointed out, I was not on top of this. There is a Toyota event going on right now on Pickwick.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. How many anglers?
I am seeing if I can locate that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Some definitely challenges ahead of this game, and we will see. So tournament action finally back on a large scale next week, right, Matthew?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is, it doesn't say. There's a lot of people in this one.
What is it again?
A Toyota Series, a Costa.
Okay.
There's a lot of people in this. I mean, it all says that they're in 9,999th place, so I can't, but yeah, I'm seeing a lot of BPT anglers. You got Jacob Wheeler in it. You got Timmy Horton in it. You got Michael Neal in it. Oh,
cool.
Check this one out. You got Justin Atkins in it.
We'll see.
Like I said, I'm scrolling through. There's
Wesley
Strader, John Murray.
Very nice. I totally missed that one. Sorry about that.
Hermilo Salgado.
That's a great name. That is a great name.
Hermilo, Hermi, Hermilo Salgado from Kentucky.
Yep. All right, real quick, before we close things out here, hey, make sure you do this, folks. Today, we launched the brand new Ducket Fishing website, ducketfishing.com, and totally revamped. And they're running a couple of specials on there. They got a buy one, get one free on a reel.
Oh.
And then also, if you buy, there's like 5 or 6 different spinning rods. If you buy one of these spinning rods, you can get one of their brand new spinning reels, any of them, for 50% off. You just put in the promo code now. So check that out. And once again, please make sure you enter the Apex games.
If
the
I
Apex
had
Bass games.
A GoPro just in the corner of the room recording while you edited, had meetings, worked on, designed this website. Oh my God, it would be the funniest thing that I've ever seen.
It's taken a long time. But,
multiple times I've been walking into the studio or out of the studio, and I just hear through the studio Jeffrey's just screams of angst and anger.
Yeah.
But it looks good.
Yeah. So check it out, folks. And then, as always, if you're listening to us on iTunes, please make sure that you leave us a review, give us a rating, and then on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to us. We have surpassed 7,000 and working our way to 8,000. Everybody be safe this weekend. We will talk to you on Monday. Check out the schedule for next week. I will post it on Sunday, working on some cool stuff. By the way, 15th anniversary of the Frog, the Spro Frog. We're going to have Sid Reeves on next week
to
talk
about
this.
I'm about to bring this up. You might have to restart this because I'm going to read this.
What?
I went back to the third or fourth iTunes review that we ever got.
Yeah.
After it went up on there.
Okay.
And it's like one of our 3 non-5-star reviews.
What's it say?
This was from over 3 years ago. Ridiculously long 3-minute music intro. The sounds of their voices are also annoying to me. Sorry guys, odd, but I couldn't get past it.
Yeah.
Dialogue was mostly lame. When they did discuss fishing, it was legit, but not enough fishing talk for me to listen to a whole show. Still looking for an awesome bass angler podcast. For now, I guess I'll just have to suffer through the others until something better comes along where these guys improve.
That was 3 years ago?
We had back-to-back bad ones.
Wow.
This is the same. This is back-to-back bad ones. Here's one. We got 2 stars. If you're interested in trying to compare or relate bass fishing to something stupid, you should like this.
Well,
those were the first 10 reviews we ever got on iTunes, Jeffrey.
That's how it goes.
I got a chuckle out of that last night.
That is pretty funny, man. Hey, we've got some good ones out there now, so greatly appreciate all the fans. Looking forward to next week, folks. That is it. We're out of here.